Imagine yourself being dropped into an entirely new world. New streets, new faces, new rules. You don't know the language, you don't understand the culture, and every system around you seems designed to remind you that you don't belong. That was my reality, over and over again, moving in between countries, in between states, in between schools. Every time I thought I found stability, the current shifted, forcing me to adapt, to fight, and to figure out who I was in an environment that told me I was who I couldn't be. Each of us, at some point, find ourselves caught in a current bigger than ourselves. Whether it is struggle, career setbacks, or systems to tell us that to follow a path that wasn't made for us. And the easy thing to do is to go with it, to let the current carry you where it wants. But what happens when you go against it? At times, it felt like a rip current, sudden, powerful, and beyond my control, dragging me into unfamiliar waters before I could even catch my breath. Other times, it was a slow drift, subtle but consistent, removing the familiar and replacing it with something that I had to learn from scratch. Some people fight the current, trying to stay rooted, but I had no choice but to go with it, to learn to navigate, survive, and to turn uncertainty into momentum. Why was this my reality? Some would describe it as the life of an army brat, but for me, the current came from somewhere else. My father was drawn to the United States by his own current, one of opportunity, education, and dreams bigger than the ones that separated him from where he was. His decision set the course, and I was swept up by the consequences. I was caught between worlds, and I was constantly in motion throughout my upbringing. But here's the thing about currents. They don't simply whisk you away. If you learn to swim with them, read the tides, and move with purpose, they will take you to places you never imagined. My journey was more than just survival. It was about transformation. Every shift, adaptation, and challenge shaped me into who I am today standing in front of you. And now, rather than fighting the current, I've learned to harness it, to allow it to propel me towards something bigger, something entirely my own. For me, the current looked like constant displacement. I constantly changed countries, schools, and systems. Every time I started to feel comfortable, I had to rebuild. New friends, new rules, and new cultural norms. And when I finally thought I had control over my path, reality reminded me otherwise. Specifically, I remember applying for 10 private high schools in the northeastern area, similar to where we are today, and every single one rejected me. At that moment, I felt like the current had won. I was in 8th grade. I've been applying to these schools between my 7th grade and 8th grade year, been going up and down for interviews, and not a single one of these schools thought I was fit to be within their system. At that moment, it felt like no matter how hard I swam, I still end up exactly where the system wanted me to be. I tried so hard and got nowhere, so what was the point? Later, when I stepped into the world of fashion and business, the same current appeared, this time in the form of resistance to new ideas, limited access to resources, and the expectation that I should follow the path already set before me. When I became the director of the BUB, Black United Body Fashion Show here at Bentley University, I wasn't just organizing an event. I was fighting against the norms that said fashion should look a certain way. It should cater to a certain audience, and it should follow a formula that had already been written. And that's when I realized resistance isn't just my story. This could very well be yours as well. Perhaps people expect you to follow a current career path, even if it doesn't inspire you. Perhaps it was a system that wasn't designed for people who look, think, or create like you. Perhaps the current isn't external at all. Perhaps it's internal. It could be the culture and the norms of society, or it could be your own self-doubt. But here's the truth. You belong. We all do. The current does not define us. We can define how we move through the current. Here's what I wish for you to consider. Resistance isn't a sign that you should stop. It could very well be the indication that you're moving in the right direction. The moment that you feel that push, that opposition, that's when you know you could very well be doing something that really matters. So, if resistance isn't a sign to stop, what should you do with it? For a long time, I thought the answer was to just endure. I believed that the key was to persevere through the challenges, but I was wrong. This is because to me, survival is not just about surviving. It's about thriving and transforming yourself. Think about it. The strongest fish don't just fight the current. In the ocean, they adjust their movements to the rhythm of the waves, letting the current carry them when it's in their favor, redirecting its force to conserve energy or to propel themselves forward. That's precisely what we have to do in life. After getting rejected by every high school I applied to, I had two choices. Let it redefine me, or redefine my path. So, instead of letting it break me, I use it as a lesson in adaptability. I found ways to thrive in new environments out of state, to build resilience, and to sharpen social skills that no institution can teach me. Like how to navigate academic uncertainty, how to connect with different people, and how to imitate the art that I appreciate. The same thing happened in fashion. I wasn't just handed the role of BUB fashion show director. I had to prove why my vision mattered. I had to push against expectations and convince people that this show wasn't just about clothes. It's about storytelling, identity, and shifting culture. Most people see obstacles as barriers, but obstacles are actually invitations to think differently, to challenge assumptions, and to innovate. Every system we admire today, every breakthrough, every revolution, it happened because someone refused to accept things the way they were. I acquired this perspective through difficult experiences. When I started directing the fashion show, I didn't have the same resources as major productions. But instead of letting that limit me, I turned that into an advantage. We leaned into creativity, finding new ways to showcase designers, incorporating storytelling that made the show feel alive, and building a platform that wasn't just about fashion, but about survival and about transformation. And that mindset, that ability to turn scarcity into opportunity is what separates those who wait for permission from those who create their own lanes. If there's one thing I've learned from constantly moving, constantly starting over and over again, it's that adaptability isn't just a skill. It is a superpower. The people who succeed aren't always the smartest or the most connected. They're the ones who can adjust, who can pivot, who can take a loss and turn it into a lesson. We often become engrossed in creating a flawless plan, overlooking the reality that nothing ever goes precisely as expected. Life will throw challenges at you. The question is, will you fight to keep your plan, or will you fight to keep moving forward? Every person in this room will face resistance. It might be rejection. It might be doubt. It might be an entire system telling you that your ideas don't belong. When that moment comes, you have a choice. Will you let the current take you where it wants, or will you push against it and continue moving forward? Because real success, real change and real impact, it may very well not come from following the current. It might come from those who are bold enough to swim against it. So, what happens when you refuse to let the current dictate your path? What happens when you persist? When you push past the resistance? When you refuse to accept that this isn't just the way things are? Something incredible can happen. You don't just survive, you transform. You don't just adapt to your circumstances, you redefine them. Remember those 10 private high schools that rejected me? Looking back, that rejection wasn't a failure. It was a redirection. It forced me to carve my space, to develop a level of resilience that no school could have taught me. It taught me that success isn't about getting accepted into the right places. It's about making every place I enter the right place for me. That's a lesson I carry into every aspect of my life. When I stepped into the world of business, when I took on leadership roles, when I directed the Black United Body Fashion Show, every challenge I faced, every moment of resistance became another opportunity to prove to myself that I belonged, that I could create something bigger than myself. And that's precisely what we did. The Black United Body Fashion Show wasn't just another college production. It became a statement about culture, survival, and redefined what fashion could be on a college campus. And that's what happens when you persist. You stop waiting for permission. You stop trying to fit into spaces that were never designed for you. Instead, you create your own. Everyone in this room may very well find something they want to change in their life. You may be pursuing a specific goal. You may be facing a system that presents challenges. At some point, you might feel like it's easier to just go with the current than to fight it. And that is a moment that matters most. Because when you push through, when you refuse to let that resistance stop you, that is when the breakthrough happens. That is when you just stop surviving and you start building to something greater. We started this conversation with a question. What happens when you push against the current? You've learned what happened in my life. How rejection became redirection. How resistance became fuel. And how every obstacle became an opportunity to create something new. But the story isn't just about me. This event is also about you. Because when you feel that pull, any force telling you to stay in line, to just follow the path already laid out, anyone telling you to accept any limitations that come across you, in that moment, you have the choice to take belief in who you really are. You can let the current take you where it wants, or you could decide right here, right now, that you are going to swim against it, that you are going to challenge the rules, rewrite the story, and carve out a space where you belong. That's not easy. It will take resilience. It will take adaptability. And it certainly takes a willingness to be uncomfortable. But the reward is transformation. The reward is a life that isn't just about survival, but about building something bigger than yourself. So, I'll leave you with this. The people who change the world aren't the ones who drift along with the current. They are the ones who dare to swim against it. The question is, will you dare to swim against it? Thank you.